something that's interesting to me that I got mainly from listening to my wife read out an article she had read in a science magazine while I was probably reading a comic book. And it had to do with the fact that a very, very young baby can recognize one of these "Have a nice day" smiley faces before they can recognize the smile of their mother. It's the idea of a smile goes in from something very simple. So it makes it clear to me that our brain is wired for comics. It's why, as I said yesterday, there's an emoticon keyboard, because when you're writing briefly and short, it's useful to be able to say, "I'm just joking," so people don't take it seriously, because irony is the first thing that gets lost on the internet. So there's that, and then there's the fact that words, when I think of how I'm going to answer your question, I think it'll only be a minute-long answer, and then eventually people take the hook and take me away because I'm talking for 4 minutes from something that was just maybe 20 words inside my head. And this is the amount of information that can fit inside a speech balloon. So that compression to very simplified iconic drawings, to little clusters of language, this is comics. And as a result, instead of being the lowest art on the totem pole, although there's one lower. I once met a tattoo artist, and he was even more humiliated by being in his medium than I am in mine. But instead of being the lowest form, it seems to be a form that has amazing possibilities and mostly relatively unexplored compared to other media. I think I became an expert in comics because it was only about 150 years. It wasn't like having to be an expert on painting, on sculpture, on narrative poetry, or whatever, you know. So I took it because I thought it was easy, but there's a lot in that 150 years that we still have to re-dig up and explore.
No.
Silent, sound, theater. I am not interested in seeing mouse adapted. I am willing to let it be translated, but even that is complicated. It's very difficult. I don't know. I don't read most of the languages it's in, but I know that the writing just the writing alone was so compressed, and there are many meanings sometimes in 8 words, not just the obvious one, and this gets lost quickly in the translation. But I am not interested in making a movie of mouse. It took me 13 years to make a comic of it, and I understand how to make comics much better than I understand how to make movies. And I've said before, and it's in, I don't know if you know a book I made called Meta Mouse, where I tried to answer every question about mouse, and I thought then I would never have to answer again, but it hasn't been that way. I say that in my studio I have a bookcase with glass, and it has my copies of Mouse in it, and it says, in case of economic emergency, break glass. So I can always sell it to the movies and run, but so far I've been able to stay alive without compromising the work. It's not like it would be better as a movie. Usually, not always, but usually mediocre books make great movies, great books make mediocre movies. So I don't say whether it's great or not, but I know that the translation process would create overwhelming problems. It's been an inspiration for other projects that are made in film, but they're taking something from it and making something very different. Like there's a movie called Waltzing for Bashir. It was clearly The Man Red Mouse. I'm also unhappy to say that I read an interview with Benini, who said that Life is Beautiful was inspired by Mouse. He wanted me to make the poster. And although I liked him as an actor and I liked some other things he made, I found that movie was a terrible idea.
Why?
So, well, Mouse used a metaphor to find something real and dropped the metaphor in the course of making itself. Benini took something real, the Holocaust, and made it into a metaphor to say, hey, if you keep your spirits up and have a good sense of humor, life is beautiful. Well, fuck, it's just stupid. It's not true, and it's actually so disrespectful to the underlying events that this is why I invented a word at some point, which was the word holokitsch. It's kind of, you know what kitsch is?
Yeah.
So this is kitsch about the Holocaust. It usually comes with violin music.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very sentimental, it's maudlin, it's reducing the pain of reality into something really, really, only a chimpanzee could think of it. It's not human to think that way.